Welcome to Hartley Football Game Day, brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics. I'm Bob McElligott.
Have you ever looked forward to going to any type of a doctor? Well, neither have I, but let me tell you, I do look forward to seeing Doctors Hutta and Price when I go to their practice. You know why? Well, it's as Dr. Hutta says. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And at Hutta and Price Orthodontics, you will know that they care from the very first visit. To find out the services that they provide or to set up a consultation, just go to their website at lovethatsmile.net.
The Hawks return home this week to Jack Ryan Field to take on Benedictine out of Cleveland. The Hawks come into the game with a record of 2-1 after scoring their second win in a row last week on the road at Canal Winchester. It was a game that the Hawks took a commanding 21-0 lead in the first half. By halftime, they found themselves tied at 21 points apiece, but wound up going on to win by the final score of 48-21. 4-touchdown performance by Trey Sanders of the Hawks, Richard Kenny, and Bryce January also getting into the end zone, and Niall Johnson had a touchdown in that game as well for Bishop Hartley. Right now, it's time to talk about that game and about this week's game, all with the head coach of the Hawks, Brad Birchfield. Brad, it was the second straight week that your opponent suffered an injury and your defense had to make adjustments. So we talked last week when Harvest Prep had their quarterback go out of the game, and then all of a sudden you had to make the adjustment to defending a Wildcat offense. Then in Canal Winchester last Friday night, it was the top running back, Stephon Bird, who gets an ankle injury and he's out for the rest of the game. And all of a sudden, instead of having to key on just that one guy, you're looking at a lot of two-back sets. You're looking at a quarterback that's trying to throw the ball down the field and make up for the loss of one of the key players on that team. But your defense adjusted very well. How proud of you are you of the way that they have done that in the last 2 weeks? When you practice this entire game plan, it goes up in smoke and you have to just adjust.
I've been real proud of them. They played really well, particularly since that first game. And we're at the point of the season now. We're getting close to mid-season where we've seen a lot of different offenses. We've seen a lot of different ways to attack us. So I think the kids can get better and feel more comfortable with playing some base fundamental schemes and adjusting to the punches that they throw. So I think that's probably going to be a story from here on out.
Well, you faced some passing quarterbacks already this year. You're going to face one again this week. And C.J. Yarborough, another good one here. But to go back to that Canal Winchester game, once they got to the point where they were really trying to throw the ball to pick up some big yardage when they needed to after you got ahead of them in the second half of that game, again, that defense has adjusted. And this year, it's a little bit different for you. You've gone away from the man-to-man. You're playing more of a zone defense. What kind of a challenge has that been? How much was it through the summer and through camp to make those adjustments and get your players to kind of make a shift in mindset?
Yeah, obviously we had them all summer, and we worked a lot of, we worked as many different schemes as we could have because we just don't know what we're going to be good at doing. And right now we seem a little bit more comfortable playing zone. It looks like we have some more of those type of players. And obviously with our front, we're playing more of a 4 down with the front because that's what we have and that's what we think's best. That's our job as coaches, is to put them in a position in which they can do the best. I see a lot of coaches, they have their scheme and they're going to run what they run, and it may work for them, but I don't know as personnel changes if it always works. We've got to be responsible for putting the kids in the best position we can for them to be successful. And right now it's that. And when we have everything in, so we can kind of go man to zone and zone to man as we want. But we've got a lot better playing zone here recently, but we're going to be tested this week in that area.
Well, when it comes to the line play, you've got Daniel Tucson, so that puts you head and shoulders above a lot of other teams, just having that one player. But on defense, those linebackers, they're really starting to come into their own, aren't they?
Yeah, you look at Deshaun Tucker. He's made some great plays. Sherrod Bowen's made some great plays. And these are guys that we knew that at least one of them was going to be in there. But until we got Dylan back, the other ones have had to take all the reps. And I've just been so happy with how much better and more aggressive they've gotten. And that's been a big challenge, and we've simplified so many things to let them play faster and more aggressive. And so far, it's been nice.
You mentioned Sherrod Bowen's. There were so many tackles the other night against Canal Winchester that I was calling his name. He was either at the bottom of the pile or he was in on it. This is a guy that you use, like so many of your players, both ways. But defensively, do you think that's where he's grown the most right now?
Yeah, and Sherrod is such a bright young man that he analyzes everything. So with that comes great things because he's so smart, but also it takes time because he wants to get it perfect. He's very conscientious. So it just takes time for him to develop. We saw that last year and we wanted him to be, you need to be like this right away. Well, by the end of the season, he was doing what he's doing. And it was a similar thing this year as we moved him on the defensive side. So sky's the limit for him.
Now, in the game against Canal Winchester, you come out and you're dominant. You get the first 21 points in the game. It's 21-0. It looks like it could be a runaway type of a game. And the next thing you know, they get into the end zone with a big touchdown run by Bird before he gets injured. Then your offense makes a miscue, a bad pitch and a ball that rolls into the end zone. They jump on it, and all of a sudden it's 21-14. And before the end of the half, it's a 21-21 game. And it seemed to me like, especially with they get the touchdown, and then there's that fumble recovery in the end zone. Those 14 points came so quick. It was almost like in a boxing match where you get punched and you get stunned, and it takes you just a little bit of time to get your feet back underneath you. But your offense did do that. How big of a deal is that? It's only 3 games into the season, but these are situations that you're going to face down the road. You're going to face them in more important games, more important situations. What does that tell you about your team?
Oh, man, it's tremendous. We want to be punched in the mouth. We want to see adversity. We know that as the games become more important, they're going to be tight games. We told them at halftime we were in tight games every single week, and maybe they had not been. So let's just do what we do. I mean, we're not going to consistently fumble the ball in the end zone. We're not going to consistently jump off sides. These are mistakes that are individual mistakes that we're going to make in a game, but not consistently. And we're only going to get better from those. So those weren't consistent things the kids were going to do or we were going to do. So we felt like we were in good shape as long as we went out and played. But Canal Winchester has a doggone good team. I mean, they were 2-0 and just stroking dudes. So we knew they were gonna battle. That's for sure. They had a lot of confidence and a huge crowd behind them. It was a great environment for us to test ourselves.
Well, and it was the Trey Sanders show when it was all said and done. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns for you. He had 230 all-purpose yards. He's the This Week News Player of the Week for last week. He had 2 receptions for touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and a punt return for a touchdown. We've talked about Trey so many times in the last 2 years, but here he is, senior year, needing to make an impact. And that's a pretty good statement game early in the season for him personally, isn't it?
Yeah, we challenge our seniors. They've got to have the best years. They've got to have off the chart years. And this was Trey's game where he did great, but I don't know whose game it's going to be this week. And every week it's going to be somebody different. As people try to take Trey away, that's just going to open Niall and Anthony Murphy and Richard to do big things. And then somebody's going to take them away, and then it'll come back around to somebody else. I mean, that's the essence of team, and this is team sports. Trey did a great job, and he's a great, so dependable of a young man. What's helped him quite a bit was Alex Ramacone has been great for us on defense, and that's allowed him to get breaks where he needs when he needs them on the defensive side, and so that's been good. But you can't lose sight. I mean, Peyton Underwood had 3 touchdown passes. That was awesome. Richard had a huge touchdown catch as well, and Niall had a huge game. And then Bryce is in there, and he's going for touchdowns. So there's a lot of weapons that we've got to continue to use in as many different ways as we can. I love when they talk about just one guy, whether it be Trey or Niall or Richard, because in the back pocket, we got a lot more that are ready to emerge.
Yeah, I was going to get to all those guys, okay? But you jumped the gun on that. Let's start with the last guy you mentioned, Bryce January. Here's a guy that comes in. I know you have there are some set formations where you'll bring him in from time to time, but the bulk of that work is going to go to Peyton Underwood. To have him come in and quarterback a drive and rush into the end zone, again, early in the season, and the way this game is played, you're always one snap away from needing that guy to go in. So how big is that experience for Bryce?
Oh, it's huge, and he's a great player, but we've also got to use his skills in other ways. We've got to use his skills in special teams. We got to use his skills, whether it be a receiver. We got to use his skills in the secondary. He's a great player that we've got to continue to develop and get on the field, and he's a great leader for us too. I mean, he's somebody that all the coaches and players respect. I talked to him last week. I don't know what he wants to do down the road, but I'm hopeful he wants to get into coaching. I think he would be just an absolute superstar as a coach. He has whatever the it factor is, he's got the it factor.
And you mentioned, all those guys we were talking about, Peyton Underwood. You always focus on the quarterback. Now, on your team, because you have so many players and because you run the ball so well, we tend to look at those guys a lot. But for Peyton, throwing those 3 touchdown passes in the way that he did it. Quick reads, get the ball out quickly, get it to a guy that can run after the catch and all of those things. How much has he matured from that sophomore quarterback that he was that you leaned on last year to this junior version, a couple of games in this year?
And even how much he's emerged since the first game, and he played well the first game, but he just continues to get better and better. And he's a big, strong young man. His great strength though is his accuracy. He's so accurate and so strong armed that creates quite a weapon for us. I mean, he's a big dude as well.
Yeah, and that's a weapon that you always have it in your pocket, right? And defenses know it. They know that he can throw the ball. It's a matter of if he's going to throw the ball, when he's going to throw the ball. Does that help you to keep defenses more honest?
Well, we want it to. I mean, I often get questions about, what plays are we going to run and how are we going to develop it? And my answer is always the same. I don't know. It depends on what the defense does. I mean, you can't just run into walled cities. You can't just overpower the people we play. So it depends on how they're covering and who they're covering and how they're defending off tackle and inside. I mean, Canal Winchester did a great job of taking away our inside A gap runs. So we had to do something different, but the goal is to be versatile enough that makes it difficult for an opponent to defend everything.
Glad you brought that up, taking away that inside running game, because that was the difference in the game. In the second half, you were able to get to the outside. It was funny. I'm looking at Niall Johnson's numbers at halftime. He gets an 81-yard touchdown run early in the game to give you a 7-0 lead. And then at the half, I had him unofficially at 87 yards. And I was like, this is not right. But at the end of the game, he's got his normal numbers. He's 150 yards or whatever he has when it's all said and done. You were able to get him and other guys to the outside. You were able to get Trey Sanders to the outside and turn the corner a couple of times. How big was that to be able – you didn't have it in the middle. You did have it outside. How big was it to be able to get there and exploit that?
It was huge. It just enabled them. And, we got those inside runs kind of later in the game because it made them second guess themselves. That I'm sure their coaches had told them, we can take this away. And here, whoa, what about this? And then it puts doubt in their head. I mean, that's just kind of how the game works. And you can establish some kind of doubt in what the defense is trying to take away, the better off you are. And love the versatility of the kids. I mean, obviously Chris Sawyer does the offense and he's doing a tremendous job. And we got a lot better from week 2 to week 3.
All right, now you're in week 4, and you've got Benedictine coming down from Cleveland. This is a good football team. They are a 3-0 football team. Double overtime win against Walsh Jesuit in week 1. They beat Toledo Central Catholic by 10 in week 2. They beat Cleveland Central Catholic by a bunch last week. First of all, to get this kind of a team on a schedule, we've talked a lot about your schedule here in this first month of the season. How big was it for you to get a team like this and get them to come to Columbus and play early on?
Yeah, I don't know anybody else was signing up to play them, so it might have been a necessity there. But we had, we've worked for a long time, kind of the making the sausage here. We've talked for a long time about what we're doing with our league and trying to unite with Catholic schools. And personally, that's a goal of mine. Is I would like to see our school unite with the great Catholic schools that are middle enrollment across the state of Ohio. But it's been difficult to get. Of course, it's difficult to get everybody anytime any kind of consensus on anything, but we've had several meetings and we were going to continue to, I hope. And one of them, it just kind of came in that Benedictine said, hey, we're open these weeks. And we said, we're open these weeks. And, traditionally we've played a He-Man type team week 4, whether it was Clinton Massey all the way back to Elyria Catholic when they had their great teams in the early 2010s. So we played just great. Hoban was the week 4 spot several years ago. So we played kind of a He-Man type team mid-season, see where we are, kind of measuring stick. I felt a lot better about this game when we put it on the schedule 2 years ago than when it's staring us in the face. That's for sure. They've got just a tremendous football team, very athletic, well coached, good, big, strong, physical, well tested. I mean, I'm not going to go in the locker room this week saying, hey, these guys don't know how tough this competition is. I mean, that'll be the last thing I say. These guys are used to playing really good people.
And when you say about getting a behemoth in week 4, do you like to do that as league play is on the horizon here? Do you like to get that kind of competition to, as you said, check where you are? But it's a game that even if things go badly, you get right into the league and you're going to be much better because of the experience that you went through.
I think so. I think that's the thing. I think you want to look at the kids after the game and say, listen, this is the level, because they're a bigger division than us. I mean, they're going to be in the mix for the state championship. There's no question. 3 of the first 4 teams we played will be in the mix for the state championship in their divisions, and none of them are our division. So we can feel good about this. Like, we want to be the best in our division. So I think it's like a no loss type of environment for us. It's going to be great coming down here. It's just the way it worked, them coming down here. We go up to Cleveland next year and we'll play up there. And, if it's a great competitive series, we'll obviously keep doing it and keep playing it. But they have a great team.
When you talk about the first 4 weeks of your schedule, when I look at it, I wonder, did you lose a bet? Did you have to make that first 4 weeks? I mean, as you've alluded to, there are not many high school coaches that would have said, hey, let's do this for the first month of the season.
Yeah, this is Benedictine's only trip to Columbus. That's duly noted. No one else is playing them, but I think it's just how it works out. I mean, I think nobody's going to play us either. We're limited to people that are signing up to play the Hawks, and I get it and I understand. It's just kind of where it is at the moment. We're excited to play them. It's a marquee game, and it's across the state. Everybody across the state, when you see, the Hawks and the Bengals, I mean, you got 11 state titles between the 2 teams and a ton of history and tradition. And these games probably should be played. And it's exciting with so many teams with the expanded playoffs. I like to think that these are the games that, our people that love our schools should benefit, and people that love Ohio high school football should benefit. Now, whoever loses the game, they'll have a lot of criticism. Somebody should have run it or thrown it or all that kind of stuff. And I'll send them the phone numbers they can play them. We can see what they got, but it's going to be an exciting environment. And it's a great game, and it'll be fun.
When you break down what they do, CJ Yarborough, who I mentioned earlier, he is their quarterback. He runs the ship. There's no question about that. Top tier quarterback. What do you do to try to contain him this week?
We just got to do our stuff. I mean, there's no secret game plan. We've got to do our stuff. We've been getting better, and we were a vastly different team than we were 3 weeks ago, but we've got to continue to get better. This is a great ball club that we're facing, and his weapons on the outside are just dynamic. I mean, these receivers are really, really good, and it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us. So we're excited to see if we can, how we can hold up.
Is the key going to be to try to get to him before he can utilize those weapons, pressure from that defensive line and linebackers?
I think we need to rush him. There's no question, but he gets the ball out of his hands so quickly. I think that could be dangerous as well, because he's getting the ball out so quick. I mean, he's catching and looking and throwing, and these guys are so athletic enough to make plays that it creates efficiency. And if you rush all those guys at him, he just, the ball's already gone.
When you look at your offensive side of the ball, running is what you do. When you look at the way you match up on the line, do you feel that you're going to be able to do that part of the game, get done what you want to get done there?
No one looks at Benedictine and says, oh, we're going to do this, that, this, that, and this. Nobody's ever saying that. But I like us and how much better we're getting. I don't know how we match up, because nobody's really done. Nobody has run. I mean, we're so unique offensively. Nobody sees that. So I think that's a unique thing. But they're so big and strong on the line that we've got to have a great night. We've got to have a great week.
All right, Brad. Thank you very much, and best of luck here this week.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
That is Bishop Hartley head coach Brad Birchfield. The Hawks and the Benedictine Bengals getting underway at 7 o'clock Friday night at Jack Ryan Field. That's a game that you'll be able to watch on our Bishop Hartley YouTube channel, or you can listen to the radio broadcast through GBSN by going to GameDayBroadcasting.com. That'll do it for today's edition of Hartley Football Game Day, brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics. I'm Bob McElligott.